Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. This is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. And this is 61st Street, y'all. Okay, we have finally made it to the season finale. All right, we are at the end. For us that stuck it through, this is season 1, episode 8, Man on Fire. Now, did the season finale really, tie up everything and not leave any questions? And was it good? Did it feel like a season finale? I don't know, y'all. Okay, but we gonna go ahead and get into this review recap and we gonna discuss it. Okay, so we started out this episode with David running in and waking up Martha and Franklin talking about there's a man on fire outside and on their lawn in front of the house. I'm like, what? What the heck is going on? All right, hence the name of the episode, Man on Fire. And so of course, they getting up and they confused and they out of it. They telling him, wait a minute. And when they get out there, I was thinking they probably trying to burn a cross out there on their lawn like the old days. But David was right for being like it's a man because it looked like a man, right? It was a dummy. And he's trying to go with a little pitcher of water to put the fire out and they hold him back. And Franklin basically goes with one of the hoses and he waters it down and puts the fire out. And later that morning we see Martha trying to get David to school. Of course he's upset and he's not really wanting to go with her. She's like, all right, then you stay with your father. And we see Franklin up on a ladder taking it down, and it essentially was a dummy, right? And so I guess they are trying to send them threats and let them know they getting too close, they doing too much, and if they don't cut it out, then they behinds could be on fire. And so, first when they get to the court, Franklin is talking with his second chair lawyer and, saying how maybe they could leak it to the press. And she was like, leak it to the press? What you think this is, the 1950s? Honey, it might as well be at the rate they going. We also have the reporter coming up to Franklin saying he might leak this story. And he was like, you gonna leak not really leak the story. I'm sorry, that was with Franklin and the second chair was talking about leaking the story, but the reporter comes up and tells him that he is going to release this story, okay, by the morning. And is there any comment that Franklin wants to give? And Franklin is like, you're just gonna release the story when you don't have the whole story. And he was saying he can't comment on it. He was like, the lawyer basically brings up, well, what about if Joshua comes up on the stand? All right. And so just so happens that when they interviewing this officer, he brings up Joshua, right? He's insinuating again that they found these drugs in the home. And he's also insinuating that Joshua was always selling and that he's been selling now to basically, put money into this fund that's paying for Moses' lawyers. And so, of course, basically that was the reporter, rather, kind of giving Franklin a heads up that they already had this planned out. This is the prosecutor with the with the cop on the stand, thinking that they're basically making Joshua and them look bad, right? Because we want them to look like criminals, we want them to look like they drug addicts and all of that good stuff. And so while this is going on, Franklin basically turns around and looks at the reporter. And so now Franklin is like, okay. So he tells Moses, I'm going to need your brother to take the stand, right? Actually, he tells Moses' mom, he's like, I'm going to need Joshua to get up on this stand, all right? Because Joshua's mother was saying that they lying. And so he's like, I need his help. And so Joshua does come and get on the stand. And Joshua is telling them the truth, okay? I was proud of him because Joshua been getting on my nerves. He's been doing a lot of stuff, I'm saying, that's been like, what the hell are you doing, Joshua? But he gets up there and he tells the truth. He says that he just recently joined the nation, that he was trying to get up money from Moses' fund to get him out of the jail, to help with his defense or whatever have you. And he basically tells them about the day that he was taken out of the station. He tells them the truth about them taking him to the river. And then he starts to kind of, break down. You could tell that he doesn't really want to talk about it. And the two cops come walking their behinds in the back of the courtroom, basically trying to intimidate him. And we see again that Joshua has some type of trauma. At this point, he loses it. He's yelling and screaming, going all crazy. They had to pull him off, and then he just crawled up on the floor, was crying, and saying how horrible these daggone cops is, right? And telling them to stay away from him and saying, you know, you did this to my brother. And so he had this episode and his mother had to basically run up there and, you know, comfort him and let them know that's my son. Now, of course, on one hand, they got to hear everything, but on the other hand, you know, the judge says that this is not admissible because of the fact that, you know, Joshua had the breakdown, right? He says that the jury cannot take that part of the, you know, testimony into account. So that wasn't a good thing, right? And so we then also had, you know, them just trying to figure out what's going on and him telling Moses that he needs him. And, you know, Moses telling him that he smells like smoke. And so he did tell him what happened with the whole burning, you know, the dummy out on his yard and all of that. And Moses apologizes to him about that. But now he's trying to tell Moses that he needs to take the stand. And Moses is like, is this about you or me? Because Franklin is telling him he needs his help. And so he basically is like, listen, you know, like I said, told him about the whole situation with the burning. And so, you know, we have Sarge with his trifling behind. We don't know who this guy is yet, but he goes into this bathroom and he's putting a tie on him. And he's saying for immunity and protection of the truth, you know what I'm saying, and the whole truth and nothing but the truth, you better go in here and you better be able to do this right. And if you don't, and, you know, so help you if you mess this up. So when the guy gets on the stand, he's basically saying that he's supposedly the driver, right, that goes and makes delivery to the prisons, and that he knows for a fact that Moses basically has been, you know, dealing from the inside, because when he throws it over the gate or whatever the case may be, it's Moses that's the one that's coming and pick it up, and that he saw him. You know, of course, initially Franklin is like, you're a liar. How would you know when you're not, you know, locked up or whatever? So how would you have these details? He's like, all of this is hearsay. And so in the midst of him arguing back and forth with the guy on the stand, you know, Moses also had let him know that he would get up and testify, right? He's finally made a decision that he will testify. And so, you know, in the midst of Franklin arguing with this guy or trying to question this guy, he basically gets upset and passes out, all right, and ends up in the daggone hospital. So that's not good. You know, at first the judge is asking him, is he okay? And he's saying, yeah. And then they have to tell the deputy to call the medic for him, okay? And so, of course, when he gets to the hospital, you know, Martha's all upset. You got Sarge, you know, driving Logan, and he's saying, well, what are we doing here, right? We don't see where he is at first. And basically, when he gets upstairs, we're seeing that this is some type of stadium. It's a bunch of people here. You know, some girl comes over and asks them what they would like, and they say whatever the deputy chief is having, okay? So he done brung him to where the deputy chief is at. And it looks, like I said, like some type of stadium. And so they go over to the deputy chief, and he's basically kind of giving Logan a pat on the back, like, oh, my good boy, you know, you doing a good job and all of that, and you were smart for, you know, going along with the program. And Logan basically finds out that it was the deputy chief that switched the guns, all right? And so, hold on, y'all, I'm sorry. It never fails for me to, get up here and my throat get dry. And so, of course, you know, Miss Second Chair come to the hospital to check on Franklin. And she's letting him know that the judge basically told Franklin, due to what happened with him passing out and ending up in the hospital, you know, he may have to have another lawyer take over, right? He does have that right. And then Franklin is asking, what did Moses say? You know, we have Martha step out, and she's upset. She goes by the ice machine, and she's basically starting to have a little breakdown and cry over there, you know, at the situation. Of course, she's worried about him and his health, and is like, here he is still worrying about Moses in the case. And so she ends up telling Miss Second Chair to stay there with him, that she will be right back. And she's like, you leaving now? And she's like, yes, I know my husband, so, you know what I'm saying, I got to go take care of something. So I'm like, where you going, Martha? What's going on? Okay. And so, you know, we find out that Martha goes and picks up Tutu's mother and, Moses' mother, and brings them all together, and they go here to this nation, and they let them know that she wants to speak to Dante, okay? She needs to set up a meeting. They need to talk face to face. At first, of course, the guys is trying to tell her that's not how this works. It doesn't matter who you are. We know who you are. And they're saying, well, yeah, well, you're the little corner boy. So we need you to speak to whoever's in charge, okay? And let them know that we want to have this meeting, okay? And let them decide. So I'm like, okay, Martha, where you going with this? We have Martha then go back to the hospital and see that Franklin done got his daggone hard-headed up behind up and, left the daggone hospital. And so we next see Franklin there apologizing to Moses. The truth finally comes out about his illness, and he tells him right now he knows he's dying. And when a person knows that they're dying, they essentially don't have anything to lose. So he would be the person that, would basically be the best person to defend Moses or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, it's up to you. And so when they go back into the court, Moses does tell the judge when he asked him that, he's going to go ahead and stick with Franklin. We also see that Franklin saw the whole video, okay? He saw the incident that happened between Moses and Michael for himself. He saw that Logan is the one that lifted up Michael's shirt and was doing CPR on him and found the wire. He goes to Michael's house, well, Logan's house, I should say, and tells him, like, I know everything, all right? We was wondering where the gun residue came from, and the gun residue basically came from your hands, from you doing CPR on Michael, and that's when you removed the wire that, of course, nobody knew about. And he's like, basically, you're going to have to get back on the stand. And he said, you must have some type of guilt because you dropped off, the tape to my house. And so you could tell that Logan was confused with that part. He says, no, I didn't drop off the tape. And so basically we realizing that it definitely was the wife. Okay, I don't think Logan would have the backbone to stand up and do anything like that. But basically, just as I was thinking that, Franklin basically says, Michael, had it in him to stand up, do you? And no, he does not. All right. And so he tells him that, like I said, he wants him back on the stand that next morning. So we see that, Martha go ahead and meet with Dante, and she says that, I know what you usually do with snitches, but I think that's the old way. I think you need to start a new way. And he's like, well, who's this that you want, protection for? Who's he? And she says, no, it's a she. Okay, it's a she. And she basically tells her, you gonna win this election. And then she go ahead and get out the car. So now I don't know, Martha. Okay, girl, like you might end up owing these men something now. But basically, she went there to get him not to do anything against Tutu, mom, or whatever, for the truth coming out, right? This is her way of helping Franklin. This is what she was talking about when she felt like she knows her husband and that he's going to keep going. And she wanted to do something that would help. And this was the only other thing, that she could think of. And we also see that some guys outside taking pictures of her. We got Franklin waiting on Logan for him to come to the court so he could go ahead and give his testimony. And Logan chicken shit behind basically drives away. We have, Moses on the stand, right? Giving his testimony, talking about how he was scared for his life. He tells the whole truth about the incident and the fact that he ran, the fact that he seen Rufus get, shot. And, the fact that he basically bumped shoulders with Michael and he fell back and hit his head. Now, of course, when the prosecutor gets up to question him, she wants to turn things to the way that's going to suit her. And she basically, just walks away. And so that gets, Moses upset where he's like, so she could just ask whatever she want to ask and then turn and walk away. And that's it. The judge is telling him to calm down or whatever. And so Franklin was like, well, can I, cross-examine him or whatever? Isn't that my right? And so the judge says, yeah. Now, in the midst of Moses giving his testimony to Franklin, thinking he's helping himself, the judge starts talking about, oh, well, nothing I've heard suggests that the police officers did anything. You were selling this whole thing about Franklin being, innocent and defending himself. But what he just sat here and admitted on the, stand means that he's guilty and that, there's an admission of guilt. So now I have to resurrect the whole jury. And they're all like, no, 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 no. And so, Franklin basically says, hold on. And he speaks with his wife. And at this point, she's telling him, I guess about her making the deal with Dante and them. And so next he put Sarge back on the stand, and he's still saying to Sarge, like, you have a chance to tell the truth. You're under oath. You might want to carefully think about this now. And Sarge is still saying, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. And they begin to play the tape. Honey child, they began to play that tape with him and Michael. Okay. And when Michael's saying everything, about the nation and how they came to him, and of course he asked for the name, and they say Tutu, and everybody's looking at Sarge now. Okay. And so Franklin is like, so did you get amnesia and forget about that all of a sudden now, or are you just an outright damn liar? Okay. And so Sarge ain't have nothing to say to that. Then we had Tutu's mom take the stand. No, I'm sorry, not Tutu's mom. We had Moses' mother take the stand, and she admits that Sarge is the one that told her about Tutu being, the one that was the informant or whatever. In other words, he told her so that she could let his mother know that, what they do to people does that, right? That's basically snitches or whatever the case may be. And she was like, I can answer the question that he didn't answer. He is an outright liar. Okay. And so I was like, all right, y'all, get it on out there. And so, of course, Franklin gets up and he gives his last closing remarks, and he's telling them like, yeah, y'all say this is the law. He said, for a long time, I kept thinking that, I had to change, the law. But he was like, at the end of the day, it's built the way it's supposed to be, right? It's working the way that it's supposed to work. It's not about that. He was like, when you look at slavery, that's working the way it's supposed to work, right? Segregation was working the way it's supposed to work. The African what was it, Ty? I can't remember right now, but y'all know what I'm talking about. All these different things were set up this way, and that's facts on facts on facts, right? And so he was like, but people did things to make those, changes. And so essentially the jury now has to make that same change too, to prove that this is wrong, and basically told them that they had to vote not guilty, right? And vote in their conscience. And so he gave a whole speech on that. And so Moses does, get a not guilty, surprisingly, all right. And everybody's celebrating in the court. Everybody is celebrating in the streets. We see Martha going out to make her vote. And we see people on this long line to put their votes in. And we have Dante come walking his behind out again, talking about, hey, people, glad to see y'all out here voting. And he essentially goes to give Tutu mom his condolences, and then he comes over to Martha like, okay, now that's two. You know what I'm saying? 2 times that I looked out for you. So I'm like, huh? Okay, what is he meaning by letting Tutu mothers live? And then also what? Getting people out there to vote? Like now he wants to help her win, so basically she will owe him something. That's how I took that to me. So I'm like, Lord, Martha, what did you get yourself into, girl? Right? Because now if she does win, basically he would be owing her. And like I said, you got all these different people celebrating in the street and, at this win. And so you have Martha waiting to find out whether she won or not. She gets this call, at first Franklin, David, and, a whole bunch of her campaign people were there. David picks her up, spins her around, telling her congratulations. Her campaign manager is telling her congratulations. When she comes back over to where Franklin was, he's not there no more. And I'm like, Franklin, where the hell did you go? Like, number one, you just got out the hospital. And number two, right now, you should be here congratulating your wife. You playing games, buddy, okay? That was not cool for you to disappear like that. David is asking her, where is he at? And she's looking around and she's like, I don't know. But Martha was like, okay, well, I won, all right? So she started dancing and partying. And I was like, I know that's right, girlfriend. But I'm still nervous for you. We see old fake plumber cop with his raggedy behind basically in the van, and we see that, Moses' mother is still texting him, telling him the party is happening. Is he coming by? He basically ends up putting his little fake phone in the box next to his badge and gun. Here he go with teddy bear and flowers and all this stuff coming in the house, and come to find out he got a wife and 2 kids. You know, they talking about, oh, hi, honey. Nice to have you home. Hi, daddy. And there's a little girl and a little boy running to him. And I'm like, you raggedy. Raggedy, okay? Then we got Logan, you know, knocking at Michael's wife door. And she like, yes, how can I help you? What are you doing here? She's like, yeah, it's me. You don't got to worry about it. I'm the one. I took the heat. Okay, I told Brannigan Raggedy behind that it was me that, you know, gave the wire in, and that you would never betray the brotherhood like that. So she was like, you could go back to your life, okay, and live it however you want to live it, but I suggest that you don't look in the mirror, okay? So mama was like, goodbye, good riddance, all right? And so he walked off looking stupid. You know, we had Moses on the field. He's back on the track. He's back to running. His, you know, what do you call it? Coach is telling him the running looks a little raggedy, but you know, it's been a minute, he'll get it. And so we see Franklin out here, you know, with them, and he's saying, you said, you know, he's saying to the coach, you wanted him back, you know, you got him there, he is, take good care of him. And then he's walking off. And I'm like, Franklin, if you don't go sit your behind down somewhere and take care of your damn health, like, okay, you got Moses out, I'm very happy, but you know what I mean? You over here running around still instead of being here with daggone Martha and David, okay, and sitting your behind down and getting the treatment that you need. But anyway, yeah, basically we ended off this episode when Moses running his daggone behind off. Okay, I guess he is going to get back to his life as much as he possibly can. You know, we just see Franklin still on these daggone walks, wherever the heck he walking to. And so that was essentially the season finale, y'all. I feel like they answered a lot, but I also feel like they kind of rushed and tried to, you know, put a bow on it and make it perfect. I think it ended a little too much good news. Even though I wanted the good news, I just felt like some of that was kind of like not realistic. And I'm still wondering, like, okay, as far as Joshua, what happens with him now, right? Because they're not going to just let him go. That's not going to just be a freebie, unless that's what Dante meant by the two, with them being able to get Joshua out of it as well. You know, was there still no repercussions for Sarge for all the stuff that he was doing, and the fact that that evidence came out? Because we ain't see them taking him out in no type of handcuffs. As a matter of fact, at one point, he came in the daggone bathroom and was saying to, you know, Franklin, may the best man win. And Franklin was like, are you for real right now? So, like, what was the repercussions for that? You know, they still gonna just get to be out there. And, you know, what is the price that Martha is gonna have to end up paying Dante and them? I guess that would mostly be my questions. But yeah, that was like, you know, it was good. But overall, you know, as watching the whole series, but I could have used a little bit more for that finale. But y'all tell me how y'all felt about it. Put it all in the comments. Let's discuss. Okay, did you like it, not like it? You know, all of that good stuff. And like, share, comment, subscribe. If you are so inclined, you know, put some fire emojis up. Let me know you came by. Give me a wave. Say hey. All right. And till next time. Toodaloo.